So how do you know when it's time for a vacation? Well, I can tell you one way I know is when I recorded this entire podcast and then realized that I never had the sound on. And today I want to talk about vacation. I want to talk about something I have coming up that is exciting, um, interesting, and slightly terrifying. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Let's jump in. First thing I want to let you know, we're taking a summer vacation from the podcast. And I haven't done this before. I've taken a week off here and there, but what I realized was that the podcast is something that I love doing. It's also something that requires creativity and really high energy to do it. So I wanted to make sure that when I take off the next 2 months, which is what I'm going to be telling you about, I'm not scrambling around trying to produce a podcast that's just not rocking for you. So here's what we're up to. And if you don't mind, let me go back in time just a little bit. I'm going to tell you the backstory. So here's the backstory. Last summer, I live in Houston, Texas. So last summer, it was hot. It was really hot. And I don't mind the heat. Like I can handle the heat. But what I found was that it was just overwhelming, oppressive. Like walk the dogs at 5 a.m. because you couldn't go out any later than that. And so I announced that I was not going to be in Houston, Texas for another summer. Kind of just threw that one out there and didn't really think about it again. Well, Phil must have been thinking about it because about maybe a month or two later, I can't give you the exact time, a month or two later, he said, "Hey, I want to show you something." It's like, okay. So he drives me to this place and shows me this RV, big, big RV. I don't know what big was, but let's call it 44 feet. It was massive. And he said, "Here we go. We don't have to be in Houston next summer." And all I could think about was, oh my gosh, I'm going to be driving that thing. And that's really big. I don't know about that. Like that looks like a lot of work. So I just said, too big, too much work. Let's, let's come back to this. Well, like a dog with a bone. Um, about a month later, we're out there looking again, and we end up finding something that's maybe 38 feet long. Uh, I'm not exactly sure, but something like that. Definitely more manageable. And it was great. It was nice. It was fun. And it's now sitting in our front yard. What we're doing is we decided to take off the 2 months, maybe more, in summer to work our way up from Texas to Canada to visit his family. And along the way, we're stopping in all kinds of places that we want to stop in to play. So I'm like, okay, now that sounds like fun. It also sounds a little terrifying, but it sounds like fun. So let's talk about terrifying first, okay? If you don't mind. And then we're going to dive into fun because that's the good part. Terrifying. Um, it has a small refrigerator. So it's the whole food thing. And in fact, actually, let me back up a second because something that I notice a lot in our accountability tribe is that when people are getting ready to go on vacation, this comes up every time. What am I going to do? Like, how am I going to work out? What am I going to eat? Like, what am I going to do? And my answer is always, it's 1 week. Just do whatever the heck you want to do. Have fun. Call it a day. Come back, start over. Right? Like, I mean, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. But when it's going to be 8 weeks or 12 weeks, all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second. I can't get away with whatever the heck I want to do for the next 12 weeks and expect to not have it show up on my health. So with food, I have to figure out how to create meals that are healthy, lots of veggies, lots of fresh veggies, and still done in a small space. So years ago, I used to live on a boat. I had a boat that I lived on, and I used to sail. So it was a sailboat. What I noticed was that on that boat, as much as I loved it, cooking was tough. Like cooking was a thing. You had a very small stove, no microwave, no oven. And it was really, in small area to cut things up in. And you learned how to do it, but it wasn't optimal. It was kind of an effort. It wasn't like having a big kitchen where you can just like spread everything out and do all the things. So it's a little bit like that in the RV. So working on that, that's the first one. The second one that I've noticed, it's really kind of funny, is that a lot of people say to me, "Oh, I'm going on vacation. I can't wait to get a good night's sleep." I am just the opposite. I sleep great at home. I've got it dialed in. I know exactly how to, I know everything I need to do to get to sleep and sleep well. When I'm on vacation, I catch myself not sleeping well. Like I don't have the sleep hygiene, as they say, that I have at home. So figuring that out is a piece. It's close quarters. When you have two people and two dogs that together weigh about 150 pounds, you have very close quarters. So working with that, and then also working with the fact that you really have limited social connection. If you think about it, you're traveling as a unit, and unless you're stopping to see people that you know or meet new people somehow, it's kind of a closed unit. So working with that, and then the other thing is that I do have to work harder, I've found, to keep my routine. So my routine is pretty set in stone. And it's okay though for me because it works for me. When I'm on the road, it's harder for me to meditate. It's harder for me to it is harder for me to work out, and it's harder for me to do the journaling and everything else I like to do. So those are going to be the things that I'm really going to be working on. Um, but the fun part about that is that in Superfit, one of the things that I'm putting together for the group is how to travel well, right? Like for those people who, like one of our people right now, she's going to be gone for 3 weeks in July. So how do you do that and travel well? Which is all the things I just talked about, the food, the sleep, the exercise, the community, etc. So I'm going to get to figure it out firsthand. Firsthand and in person. So that's a fun piece of it. So that's that side. The flip side of it, though, is that what I've found is that when we're in the van, RV is van, whatever you want to call it, I work less. And it's usually because we're places where I can play more. Houston, not being an epic outdoor center, I find it's really easy. It's easy to work. I love what I do. I love to work. And I love my job. I love my people. And I also catch myself sitting at my desk a lot longer than I probably should, because middle of the day, there's nobody in their right mind wants to go out and play in Houston in the middle of the day. So that's like here. But when we're traveling, what I've noticed is that I'm like a little kid who doesn't want to quit playing. We get to go out and we get to go hiking in New Mexico, or we get to go paddling in Arkansas, or we get to go hike and paddle in Oklahoma or Colorado or wherever it is, right? Like there's so many places that we get to go that have this beautiful outdoor area. So that's exciting. That's exciting to dial back on the podcast so that I don't catch myself stressing over not getting everything done so that I can go play. So I'm excited about that. And then the other thing is that it's just the idea of the mental downtime. I think this is so important for us. Not that I'm great at it. Like I do the things that fall within my routine, like, good sleep, meditation, journaling, all of those things. I'm great at those. But just to just sit down, in the middle of the day and read a book would never happen in my world. Or to just like kick back and, I don't know, play with the dogs in the afternoon. That doesn't happen normally. So being able to find that mental downtime, I'm excited about. And that is, and that also is one of the reasons that we're not going to be doing the podcast for a few weeks, because there's actually a lot of creativity that goes into the podcast. You might be shocked. So given all of that, I'm not going to be disconnected. All right. If you already get my Monday Fit tip, then you will continue to get the Monday Fit Tip because that's something I love to do, love to write about, and that's coming your way always. Social, if we're not connected on social, this is probably the one time I'd say get on social, because I figured that, if we're doing this trip, I should probably document it. Could be fun. It could be all about like, where's Romeo and Juliet, the dogs, because they're way cuter in pictures, and just like show and tell, because there's so many beautiful places to see and so many places to share. And I do want to share that. So on social, I'm just going to link to it in the show notes because I don't have that specific. Mostly across social, it's Fit is Freedom. Or you can find me personally at Kelly Howard, but shared in the show notes. Okay. So do that and know that that's going to be there for you. And inside the social, I'll make sure that I'm adding not just what we're up to, but what I'm finding works, because I think that's a huge piece for all of us. We need to have downtime. We need to go play, and we need to be able to figure out how to make that work for us while we're doing it. So when we come back, okay, I'm going to do a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to tell you exactly what we're up to with something that we are curating specifically for you. So right now, I think I mentioned it, at the present time, we have over 250 podcast episodes. Probably, I think we figured out somewhere around 300 hours if you include me and interviews and everything else. So there's just so much content out there. And we don't always want to pick through it. I don't always want to pick through everybody else's stuff. I don't want to pick through mine when I really do. I go back and listen to some of my podcasts sometime when I'm thinking, what do I need to do about X? And I'll go back and find it and listen to it. So what we've done is we've made this, it's a very quick quiz. 20 seconds is what it's going to take you. If you do the quiz, and it's in the show notes. So if you go through the quiz, 20 seconds, it's going to give you a curated playlist that is tailored to exactly where you are right now and what you need when it comes to fitness and health. Okay. Because I think this is so important. And when, like, I myself use a lot of audio when I'm working out, when I'm driving, when I'm hiking or whatever it is, if I need that extra push, that's the first place I go, is to audio. Video doesn't work for me when I'm doing these things, right? So when we have that audio in our ear, though, it reminds us of things. It reminds us of what we need to be doing, maybe what we forgot we should be doing, or gives us completely new ideas. So that's what this is. Make sure that you go to the show notes, get the playlist. It's going to be made specifically for you, for your health and fitness, and just take the quiz, super quick quiz, and you'll get it. It's going to give you what you need for your fitness journey, health journey right now. And while we're journeying, you can be journeying. And please do come follow us on social. I'll make sure all links are in the podcast notes. And if you're not getting the Fit Tip Monday, get the Fit Tip Monday, because I'll be catching up people on that one too. In the meanwhile, have a wonderful, wonderful summer. I will tell you, actually, a little teaser. I've already created the podcast episodes for when we come back. And the first half of that is different people I have interviewed who it's people who play for a living. I thought, how appropriate, right? So one person is somebody who runs a jungle lodge in Costa Rica and a tour company in Costa Rica. One person is the creator of the koala cloth. I just butchered that name. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible about that. Kula cloth is what it is. And if you don't know what a kula cloth is, you really need to know. You're going to love Anastasia. She is a crack up. And somebody else who runs a kayaking company and talk about playing for a living, plus a few others. So that's coming up in late summer. I'm excited to introduce you to everybody then. And in the meanwhile, have a wonderful summer. I will see you on social, and I will talk soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.